Welcome back to the Circuit Revival, where today we're going to be taking a look at this tower iron. It's been around here for a little while now, so I don't actually know what's wrong with it. But I've just pulled it out of the box. It's got some cool things to it. I've just noticed it's got this little like lock thing on there so that you can put it on the base, and as long as you flick this sort of latch, it will lock itself to the base, which is quite cool. But we'll give this a test and see what's wrong. I suppose what we'll start off with is just working out whether the base itself is working. So I'll plug this in and we should see voltage on this. It sort of reminds me a bit of the Nespresso bases that we had. But we just get this in and we'll get our multimeter and we should see on voltage, I'm guessing DC on this, AC, 200 and something volts I imagine, so we'll go negative in the middle, positive on the outside, and 173.8 volts. Feels a bit low, it's a bit strange. There's 70 there. So there's two contacts in this. One just here and one just here. They're giving a few different results there. So I wonder what they're for, but we'll try plug this in then and see if it does anything. Okay, we have a red light. So there's a red light down there, so I don't know. And it's getting hot. I'm wondering whether it's the steam that's not working. So I'll leave this to cool down a bit and then we'll see if we see it, because the actual steam button here feels a bit spongy. It doesn't feel like it's doing anything, and neither does the one on the top. Okay, so I've got some water in it now and it's still not doing anything when I push the buttons. I've double checked the light does turn out once it's up to power here, but these buttons are both not doing anything and should work. The instructions also say that sometimes you have to pump it to get it to start, but even pumping this here, there is no kind of spray of steam there. So I'll turn it back off and wait for it to cool down, and we'll take it open. Okay, so I've emptied out the water and I've left it to cool down for a bit. So it's still a bit warm, but it's not hot anymore. So we'll try and see if we can get into this. There's, to start off with, two tri-wing screws on the bottom here, which I'm hoping should open up some of this, and we'll see whether we can get into it. From any other time I've seen an iron, they do not look easy to get into, so we'll see if we can get into this one a bit easier. And anywhere. So I wonder whether there's some hidden screws under anything. Maybe one underneath here. Okay, so I've just taken the thermostat up. There's a couple of screws just underneath there, so we'll try those. So I think this base might be clipped in. Doesn't feel like there's anything on the label either. This is a tower model T22022GLD. But I think we just need to get this base off first. Oh. Okay, so I think it is clipped in. I'm not sure whether there's anything behind here. Yeah, and there is a couple of screws under there, so I think it is on clips, but I think these were supposed to get undone first, so it's possibly slightly bent just from where we tried to get that up. It looks like, hopefully, if we undo these. That now just lifts out. There we go. And we're in. And then there's just a few more screws that looks like we might be able to get the back off here. So there's just 2 under here. Okay, maybe we'll undo the next part as well, which will be just these 2 screws in here. And hopefully if we do that, we might be able to lift just the whole thing up, all the way up. Okay, I think there's a screw post in the front here that I think I can see. I don't know. Okay, it looks like you get to it just behind this cover here. So I can get this cover off without breaking it. It's just on sort of like a swing mechanism. So I just need to try and pinch these arms in, and it should loosen it up. There we go. And we can just see just in there, there's just another screw. So we'll just get this one out, and that bottom should then drop off. I feel like we should be able to lift this off now. No, that's still held in. Just try and see if there's anything underneath this button. See if I can get the actual button out. Okay, I was right the first time around. There is some more screws underneath that button. Just shows you should trust your gut feeling with these things. There we go. And as soon as you know what you're doing, it's really straightforward. Just get these screws out so we don't lose them. That does uncover a whole lot more. Okay, so I think this is as far as we really need to go. The one that's not working, and I think I can see why that is. That's because it's snapped. So that needs to be able to push that down, but instead the button is just bending rather than actually like levering the whole thing forwards. And we can see if we push it down, you might be able to kind of see it. I'll get it out in a second. There we go. That'll be why. It's because it is completely snapped and it was just held on by a tiny little bit. So I think this might be a bit difficult to get sorted because it's already going to be weakened from where it was snapped. So to be able to get it strong enough again, I think might be a bit difficult. I feel like this should lift out. There we go, finally got it out. So it was just levering, but we can see that it sort of lost all structure where it had snapped. So it wasn't able to push straight down anymore. It was just bending and pivoting on that brake. So we might be able to sort of super glue it in place, then maybe use some, maybe melt it and sort of plastic weld it in place. Let's get this out of the way for now. So I've got some super glue. So I think if we start with that, and try and glue it in place, and then maybe what I'll do is I'll come in on the inside, I'll maybe try plastic weld it, and then maybe fill this with hot glue. So I wonder if we fill it, it might hold it in place a bit more, but I don't think it's ever going to be as strong as it was. So we might need to improvise a bit, but we'll get some glue to begin with. We'll try and get it at least back in place. So just apply a little bit of glue into this area here. And then we'll just try and line this up exactly where it was. That feels good. That feels like that's where it was before. And then I'll just wait for this to set and I'll come back. Okay, so this hasn't fully set yet, but it's definitely set a bit more. So it's in the right place. So I think what I'm going to try and do is I'll get my soldering iron in here first of all, and I'm just going to try and melt along, hopefully we can get this in the light, just along here where you can see that crack is. And I'm hoping that might start to just glue it back together a bit more than where it is and make it a bit stronger. Then what I'll probably try and do is then just fill the whole of this section here with glue. Try and see if it just holds itself all together. So this is up to heat, so we'll just come in here and I'm just gonna rub my iron across where the split is in the hope that what it does is it melts the two broken parts back together. Maybe just on the outside here as well. So it's not going to look pretty. I'm hoping it should make sure those two sections stick. I have to be cautious of these posts here because that's how it holds itself in place. I don't want those out of shape. Okay, so that is all done in there. So what I'm going to do is I'll use my hot air station and I've got a glue stick and I'm just going to try and fill this up. But I'll leave that to cool down because that's very hot right now, and I think that's just the temperature of the glue in there. But that might help because it might, as it's so hot, actually start to melt the plastic back together from the inside. Because I can see where it sort of like warps, like where I've got too close. Okay, so I think what we'll do then is we'll just leave this to cure and solidify, and I'll jump back into the video once that's all done. Okay, so that's dried out. You can start to see it's sort of gone whitish again like it is, and it feels pretty sturdy, all fairness. So I think we should be good to give this a test then. I can't be certain this is going to work because as soon as plastic breaks, it sort of loses its strength, in all fairness. I'm hoping if I get this, just apply some force, it'll just ping back into place. Okay. It's working, but how long it's going to last, I'm not entirely sure. So we'll get this back together and we'll test it out then. Okay, so we're all back together again, and this does feel nice and stiff. Before, when I even tapped it, it would lift up, but it feels like it's all good now. This button feels good. I think it only works if it's facing downwards though, so something to note with that. But we'll get it plugged in and see whether it works. So I'll just go fill this up with some water again, and we'll see whether it's steaming now. Okay, so I've got some water back in this again. I thought I'd just show you that how the spray works. You should be able to see on the map. When you squeeze the button, it does work. It just needs to be facing downwards for it to work. Okay, so there's our base plugged back in again. So if we get this sat on here. And the lock still works. Light still works, so we still know it's working. Let this heat up. Okay, that should be hot. And there we go. Oh no, it's just snapped again. So we got 3 sprays out of it. So I don't think we're going to fix this without replacing that whole section there. So I'll just get this unplugged again so it can cool down. But I was hoping it was going to last a bit longer than that, but it has it's snapped again. So unfortunately, I think we're going to have to put this one down as a no fix. I'm sure somewhere you'll be able to buy the little replacement part for that, but for what it's worth, it's probably not worth it. I didn't expect it to last long. As soon as plastic melts, that's sort of it, really, in all fairness. So unfortunately, this one does go down as a no fix. So we will change our figures here. And that makes our score there for the first time 6-1 there. Okay, so I thought I'd just put a little update into this because although I think this actual switch is not fixable, you probably could alter this button here to be able to get it to work because there's just the 2 levers in there. So I reckon you could possibly pin this off and maybe even design it like if you 3D printed 2 separate switches, one on the left, one on the right. So the left one would be for the spray at the front, the one on the right would be to replace this button at the bottom. I think you probably could fix it with a 3D printer, in all fairness. So although we're classing this as a no fix, I think that is something we could do with it. So yeah, so we will say thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.